Raising capital is always a challenge for entrepreneurs at every stage, particularly once they get something off the ground. It can become really expensive, and they've already proven something, so you'd think the cost of capital would come down.
Yeah.
Enter, Michele, you and Clearbanc with a solution that sounds like really a dream for entrepreneurs. You get capital that's non-dilutive.
Yeah.
But how do you do that on this platform?
I would totally agree that the ecosystem for entrepreneurs has been that. It's basically been two choices, and they've both been pretty lousy. The first was go to a venture capital. That's a relationship game where you need to know a ton of people to really get a bidding process going. And you're giving up a part of your company, and you can never reverse that decision. And then on the other end, you had banks. And banks had lots of unattractive features. They were slow. In the early days, they were taking, probably the first 10 years of a company, they were taking a personal guarantee from the founder, which is like, if your company doesn't make it, we're gonna take your house, which is pretty scary. And at the later stage, debt is extremely complicated. It's full of covenants and warrants and all sorts of things that make it a far more complicated structure. And so I built the product as an entrepreneur that I wish I would have had. And so one of the things that we see today is that we can do a lot of our underwriting on data. And so we look at especially e-commerce companies. Right now it's crazy today. 40% of VC dollars go into a company to buy more Google and Facebook ads for them to scale.
So 40% of the capital they raise at that highly dilutive valuation, just when they're about to really take off, they turn around and put it into Google and Facebook ads.
Exactly.
And your solution helps solve that.
Yeah, so we say, look, we'll fund that marketing budget. And so whether that is $10,000 a month or $10 million a month, we've done that range where we give the company that capital. We want them to spend it on the Facebook and Google ads. We can underwrite that very well to see if you have healthy unit economics. And then we just take a rev share until we get our capital back plus 6%. So if we give you 100 grand, we take a percentage of your revenue back until we get $106,000, and that's never a bigger number than that. It can never compound, and the entrepreneur gets to keep 100% of their company.
You're accelerating that greatly, but there's a risk of a lot of mistakes. So what's the machine intelligence and software that's going into selecting these companies correctly?
Clearbanc is a technology company. That's what we had to become very good at, is ingesting a lot of disparate sources of data, making sense of those, and then making good decisions based off that. And now we're getting to see a lot that's happening across a wide range of companies. But frankly, we were competing against, a pretty terrible data-driven approach. If you looked at a bank, they were looking for, old school, they were looking for accounting statements, which typically an entrepreneur will do at the end of the year.
Right.
We are plugging in to data sources that the entrepreneur cannot alter. We're seeing that data over a period of time relative to many of their peers that we've also funded.
When you pick a founder, though, there's always that risk that especially if it's not a very late stage business, there's always that risk things are going to go sideways.
Totally.
Have you had to capture that, and how do you rein that in when it's not going the way you expect?
We typically like to start out small and then keep growing. I mean, certainly that is baked into our business, that we're going to have a few businesses that will not make it. But generally, when you have good, repeatable economics, those are the founders that end up scaling.
When you think about the roadmap then for Clearbanc,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of disruption happening in financial services generally.
Totally.
This model is very unique, but you have the opportunity to do a lot more types of financial services for your clients.
Yeah.
Is there a roadmap of the next service you're going to launch?
I think that the way I think about it is that there's, we're really heavy in the e-commerce consumer vertical today. There is tons of different verticals that look very different that we want to apply the same model to. And then we think we can grow pretty deep with those companies. So we're already, offering them a debit card, we're offering them other services. We can get really deep on how to also optimize some of the big things they're using, their ad spend, and giving them some more data and insights around that.